The jungle remembers what the chronicles tried to bury. Between the mid-15th and late 16th centuries, the lands between Ayutthaya and the remnant Khmer Kingdom trembled beneath the weight of forgotten wars. These were not the grand invasions that toppled capitals. These were the slow, grinding conflicts that scarred villages, shattered borders, and carved new destinies across the Mekong Basin. Under the canopy of thick monsoon clouds, armies moved like shadows. Siamese forces pushed eastward, hungry for dominance, confident in their rise. The Khmer held their ground with stubborn pride, fighting from flooded rice fields, forest passes, and crumbling fortresses left behind by the glory of Angkor. Year by year, generation by generation, the wars continued, quiet in the records but fierce in memory. A century of struggle that shaped the identities of two nations still facing one another today. Now we return to those forgotten battlefields to hear what the silence has kept. In the decades after Angkor's fall, the Khmer Kingdom regroups in the south, near Phnom Penh. Temples are rebuilt, rice fields are widened, yet the people carry the old wounds of loss. The memory of displacement hangs over them, shaping every decision their rulers make as Siam rises to dominate the region. Ayutthaya stands proud and unshaken. Its kings grow increasingly confident, viewing the weakened Khmer state as both a threat and an opportunity. Merchant caravans move through its bustling markets, bringing tales of border skirmishes. Nobles listen closely, sensing the promise of expansion. Along the frontier, bamboo watchtowers rise over dense vegetation. Guards from both kingdoms observe the forests, every rustle a possible sign of enemy movement. Families in these contested lands sleep lightly, their nights broken by the echo of distant drums or the crack of a snapped branch. In 1450, tensions ignite as Siamese forces probe the border near the Dangrek Mountains. Khmer troops respond with swift resistance, ambushing patrols in the narrow passes. Spears flash in the half-light beneath the canopy. Bodies fall silently onto moss-covered stones. Word reaches Phnom Penh that the Siamese are preparing a larger force. Khmer commanders gather in the palace hall, where incense curls through the air and bronze bells chime softly. The king listens with a grave expression, knowing another long conflict may be rising. Villagers near the frontier begin storing rice in clay jars and digging hiding pits beneath their homes. They lead livestock deeper into the forest, hoping to save what they can when armies sweep through their fields. Experience has taught them the cost of war. Siamese generals deploy scouts trained in forest warfare. These silent hunters move through the undergrowth like ghosts, marking routes, counting Khmer sentry posts, mapping rivers and marshlands. Their detailed reports shape the first strategic plans of the new campaign. The first major clash erupts near the Tonle Sap Basin. Siamese soldiers advance in tight formation, shields raised, while Khmer warriors fight with fierce knowledge of the terrain. The marshy ground slows the invaders, and the battle twists into chaotic skirmishes among tall reeds and stagnant pools. Villagers nearby flee into stilted houses along the water, listening as shouts and metal clashes ripple across the lake. The birds that usually gather at dusk scatter. Even the fish beneath the muddy surface seem to avoid the violence. As the battle intensifies, Siamese war elephants enter the fray. Their massive bodies push through the reeds, scattering Khmer formations. Warriors scramble to strike at the beast's vulnerable legs, while arrows rain down from the mahouts above. Khmer commanders rally their troops and order a tactical retreat, drawing the Siamese deeper into the wetlands. Thick mud slows the elephants. Spears push forward with renewed force. For a brief moment, the Khmer gain ground, driving back the towering beasts. But reinforcements arrive from Ayutthaya, and the tide shifts again. The Siamese push forward with rigid discipline, gradually overwhelming the scattered defenders. By nightfall, the Khmer line collapses. The survivors slip into the forest under cover of darkness. In Phnom Penh, the loss creates a ripple of fear. Yet the king refuses to surrender the borderlands. He calls for recruitment from every province. Men leave their rice fields behind, exchanging plows for spears. Monks bless them at temple gates as families watch in bittersweet silence. The war escalates slowly but relentlessly. Each season brings a new confrontation. Rain turns paths to mud, but still soldiers march. Dry months bring heat thick enough to blister the skin, yet neither side relents. The land becomes the battlefield's only constant witness, By the early 16th century, Ayutthaya's influence grows stronger. Its kings seize opportunities to expand when internal Khmer tensions flare. Factions within the Khmer court struggle for power, and Siamese spies exploit these fractures, feeding misinformation and guiding their armies toward vulnerable regions. A devastating campaign unfolds near Levek, the Khmer capital chosen after Angkor's decline. Siamese forces approach from the west, their armor glinting beneath the punishing sun. Refugees flood the city gates. Traders pack their wares and vanish downriver before the roads close. Khmer defenders prepare the walls with grim determination. They place boiling oil near parapets. They sharpen bamboo stakes and set them along expected breach points. The city's monks move through the streets, offering blessings to soldiers and civilians alike. Night falls heavy over Luvek as both sides prepare for the inevitable clash. Fires burn along the battlements, casting long, trembling shadows. A sudden gust of wind brings the distant smell of smoke from burning villages. Everyone senses that the storm of battle is drawing near. At dawn, Siamese drums rolled across the plain. Their sound reverberates in the chest, deep and steady. The army advances with a precision that strikes fear into the defenders. War elephants lead the formation, their trunks raised, their tusks covered in metal. The first impact shakes the ground. Khmer archers release volleys from the walls, but many arrows bounce harmlessly off Siamese shields. Soldiers ascend ladders under a shower of projectiles, their determination unbroken. Inside the city, women gather pots of water to douse fires as flaming arrows land. Children hide beneath wooden beds and altars. Elders recite protective chants, their voices trembling as the barricades creak under mounting pressure. The gate buckles under repeated strikes from the elephants. Defenders throw rocks and spearheads, trying to slow the assault. But the force behind each blow is immense. With a final crack, the gate collapses inward, and Siamese troops pour through the breach. Chaos fills the streets. Khmer warriors engage in fierce hand-to-hand combat. Their sandals slip on dust as they maneuver through narrow alleys. The clash of metal echoes between wooden homes, driving birds from the rooftops in frightened swarms. The battle rages for hours. Smoke from burning grain stores fills the air. The heat becomes suffocating. Both sides fight exhausted but relentless. Luvek shakes with the violence of each passing moment. By midday, the Siamese establish control over the outer districts. Khmer defenders fall back toward the palace complex, a cluster of fortified buildings surrounded by tall timber walls. Here they plan a final stand, drawing on their remaining strength. The king watches from a high balcony as flames rise beyond the palace walls. His advisors urge him to evacuate along hidden river routes, but he hesitates. Leaving feels like surrendering the heart of his kingdom, yet staying may lead to capture or death. Outside, the Siamese press forward. Their warriors breach the first layer of defenses. The sound of splintering wood merges with the cries of soldiers pushing against the tide of invaders. Khmer commanders shout orders, but their voices grow faint beneath the roar of battle. The defenders fight with the fury of men protecting their last refuge. Spears strike with desperate speed. Shields raise and fall in frantic rhythm. Blood pools in the dusty courtyards as bodies clash and collapse. Finally, the palace guard escorts the king to a waiting boat hidden behind a wall of reeds. With heavy heart, he departs under the cover of smoke, drifting silently down the river while his city burns behind him. The flames reflect in his eyes like the fading memory of a nation. Luvek falls to Siam, marking one of the most devastating blows in the long century of conflict. The Khmer are forced once again to relocate their capital, rebuilding from the ashes with fewer resources and fewer allies. But the wars do not end. Every generation between 1450 and 1590 inherits the tension. The borders shift like restless water. Fields are planted, then scorched. Temples rise, then crumble. Children grow up knowing the sound of marching feet before the sound of festival drums. Along the Mekong, fishermen mend nets in silence, often glancing toward the tree line. They know armies still patrol these lands. They know peace is fragile, as thin as the morning mist that clings to the river's surface. 40 years after Luvek's fall, new clashes erupt along the same trade routes. Siamese influence grows stronger each decade, pressing deeper into territories once held by the Khmer. Yet the Khmer refuse to disappear, fighting with determination rooted in centuries of pride. The conflicts that span this long-shadowed century never gained the fame of great invasions or decisive conquests, but they shaped the political landscape without mercy. Each village burned, each temple seized, each border shifted, writes another line on the map that emerges in the centuries to come. These forgotten wars carve their stories into the land itself. Pathways worn by armies become future roads. Hills once stained with smoke become quiet farmlands. But beneath the soil lie memories of struggle, waiting to be remembered. And the century draws toward its close with no final victory, only scars shared by both kingdoms. The river keeps flowing. The forests keep whispering. The flames may fade, but the echoes of war linger in every stone and tree that stood witness to the long conflict. The monsoon rains return, striking the earth with relentless force. Roads turn to rivers. Patrols vanish in sheets of falling water. Yet even in this season of swollen rivers and crashing storms, the tension between Siam and the Khmer Kingdom refuses to wash away. War lingers in the air like the dampness clinging to every leaf. Travelers passing through flooded markets whisper of new Siamese movements along the western frontier. Khmer elders pause in the rain, listening to the thunder with expressions carved from years of hardship. They sense the familiar weight of another campaign forming beyond the storm. Siamese generals gather in Ayutthaya's royal court, where golden pillars shine beneath torchlight. Maps stretch across polished tables, marked with paths that lead deep into Khmer territory. The desire to control the Mekong's trade routes grows stronger with each passing year. In the Khmer capital established after Lovik's fall, a new generation rules a kingdom struggling to survive. Ministers debate strategies in darkened halls where water drips from the ceilings during heavy rain. Hope fights against fear as they consider how to repel another invasion. The forests between the kingdoms thicken with vines and tall trees that block even midday light. Along hidden trails, scouts from both sides move quietly, leaving only faint footprints in the mud. These silent travelers watch, memorize, and vanish, carrying precious information back to their commanders. When the rain finally subsides, Siam strikes swiftly. Troops descend toward the Mekong basin in long disciplined columns. Their armor gleams beneath the sun. Their war elephants shake the ground with each heavy step. Dust rises behind them like a dark banner. Khmer villagers along the frontier hear the distant rumble and begin gathering what they can. Mothers pack rice into jars and wrap cloth around their children's shoulders. Elders lead families into the forests, following trails their ancestors carved during earlier wars. Skirmishes ignite along the riverbanks. Khmer warriors appear from behind palm trees, unleashing spears and arrows, then melting back into the jungle. The Siamese respond with shields and disciplined formations, advancing through hailstorms of projectiles with unwavering determination. The battles grow fiercer as the Siamese reach the first Khmer fortresses. These earthen walls and wooden towers have been rebuilt countless times, each new layer resting upon the ashes of the old. Drums beat from within the walls as defenders prepare for the assault. Siamese siege engines roll forward. Stones crash against the fortress walls, splintering timber and sending debris raining down on the defenders. Khmer archers fire from every tower, their arrows hissing through the smoky air as the ground shakes from the enemy's impact. Inside the fortress, residents hide in underground shelters. Children cling to their mothers, covering their ears as each strike sends vibrations through the earth. Old men whisper stories of earlier wars, trying to remind the young that survival has always been possible. After a long day of assault, the Siamese breach the outer defenses. The remaining defenders retreat to the inner keep, where they brace for the final wave. Their shields cracked, their limbs heavy, they prepare for a stand that few expect to survive. The final clash erupts as the sun dips below the treetops. The sky glows red, as if the heavens themselves reflect the violence below. The defenders fight with every remaining breath, but the Siamese press forward until the fortress falls silent beneath the smoke. Survivors flee deeper into Khmer territory. Families are scattered. Soldiers regroup in hidden camps near the river, where they wash blood and mud from their bodies and swear to defend the next line of resistance. The war stretches on, relentless. As Siam gains ground, Khmer leadership grows increasingly fractured. Rival factions debate whether to continue resisting or negotiate a fragile peace. In the palace, arguments echo through the chambers, drowning out the gentle hum of the rainy season's return. Meanwhile, Siam consolidates its hold over captured territories. Trade routes once controlled by the Khmer now deliver wealth to Ayutthaya. New outposts rise along the borders, guarded by disciplined soldiers who patrol the roads with hardened eyes. Yet despite Siam's growing dominance, the Khmer refuse to vanish. Their warriors turn to guerrilla tactics, using the forests as both shield and weapon. Small bands strike at supply lines and outposts, disappearing before the Siamese can counterattack. Siamese commanders grow frustrated with the persistent resistance. They send more troops into the dense forests, but unfamiliar terrain slows them. The humidity thickens around them. The insects bite relentlessly. Every step forward feels like pushing through an ancient living labyrinth. Meanwhile, Khmer villagers rebuilt their lives among the ruins. They replant rice fields even as smoke still hangs over the land. They repair temples damaged during the fighting. Their resilience becomes the quiet strength that keeps the kingdom alive, despite every blow. By the mid-16th century, new wars ignite once again. Siam sees an opportunity to weaken the Khmer further as regional politics shift. Border towns brace for the familiar rumble of marching armies. Farmers hide their tools and prepare for another cycle of loss. Siamese troops advance with renewed force. Their weaponry improves, their formations grow tighter, and their ambition widens. Khmer resistance grows more desperate as they attempt to preserve the last strongholds protecting their capital and people. Battles erupt near river crossings, where the Mekong splits into countless channels. Boats collide under volleys of arrows. Soldiers leap into shallow water, where mud makes every step perilous. The river becomes a battleground, where both sides fight for control of the currents. As the war drags into later decades, both kingdoms feel the strain. Siam continues to push outward, but the cost in manpower grows. Khmer forces defend fiercely, but each victory leaves them more exhausted than the last. The land seems caught in an endless cycle of burning and rebuilding. In villages scattered across the countryside, young boys grow into their father's armor. They learn to wield spears before they learn to write their names. The songs sung at night shift from joyous festival melodies to somber tales of defense and loss. Temples become sanctuaries during each wave of fighting. Monks lead families through hidden passages, carrying sacred relics on their backs. They chant to steady, trembling hearts, their voices echoing off walls covered in carvings of mythic battles that feel too close to the present. As the late 16th century approaches, Siam launches one of its most devastating campaigns. Troops march toward the heart of the Khmer Kingdom, intending to break its defenses for good. Their banners flutter in the wind like fiery trails marking the path of conquest. Khmer commanders gather their remaining forces near the capital. They know their numbers are limited, but surrender is unthinkable. They stand shoulder to shoulder, men from different provinces united by the memory of what they once were and the hope of what they may still become. The final battles are brutal. Streets fill with smoke as fighting breaks through the city gates. The cries of warriors mingle with the crackling of burning wood. Families flee along hidden river paths once again, carrying what little they have left. The capital falls. Siam claims victory, but the empire it hoped to fully absorb refuses to die. The Khmer retreat and rebuild farther south, clinging stubbornly to their identity. The wars leave scars across the land, but the people remain rooted like ancient trees surviving storm after storm. By 1590, the long century of forgotten wars comes to a close. There is no single triumphant moment, no final battle etched in stone. Instead, the wars fade with slow exhaustion. Both kingdoms withdraw, battered and changed forever. Today, the traces of these forgotten wars linger in place names, temple scars, and silent fields where battles once raged. The land remembers even when the chronicles fall silent. The echoes endure beneath the trees, stirred by the wind and the distant call of birds. And so the century ends the way it began, with two kingdoms standing across the same river, bound by conflict, shaped by fire, and forever connected by the struggles that defined their shared history. Until next time, stay safe, and see you in the next history.